Very good evening. You're watching News Tonight on Rajya Sabha TV. I'm Tina Jha. In the next 30 minutes, we get you all the major news and updates from India and across the globe. But first, the headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi rewards radio address Mann Ki Baat to clarify farmers' doubts on land acquisition bill, says his government is open to changes in the bill. Jammu and Kashmir Assembly passes resolution to condemn twin terror attacks in the state. Chief Minister Mufti Mohammed Saeed tells Pakistan to rein in terrorists. Finance Minister Arun Jaitley hopes PSUs will follow the RBI in cutting rates, insists no disconnect with the RBI on regulating money markets. Fire breaks out in AC plant in the Parliament premises. President expresses concern. Home Ministry seeks report into the cause of blaze. And 2 days ahead of talks between fishermen's associations in Chennai, Sri Lankan Navy arrests 54 Indian fishermen in its northern province. And the top story of the day. Prime Minister Narendra Modi took the opposition's campaign against the land bill head-on in his Mann Ki Baat address today. He told them lies were being spread over the measure for political reasons to create confusion. He maintained that the government is willing to consider any change in the land bill that would be beneficial to the farmers.
मेरे प्यारे किसान भाइयों और बहनों.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi today reached out to farmers across the country. His 35-minute radio address focused on the government's land acquisition bill that he said was not anti-farmer.
हमारा इरादा यही है कि किसानों का भला हो, किसानों के संतानों का भी भला हो, गांव का भी भला हो, और इसलिए कानून में अगर कोई कमियां हैं तो दूर करनी चाहिए. तो हमारा एक प्रामाणिक प्रयास कमियों को दूर करना है.
Modi also insisted that the opposition parties were misleading the farmers by spreading rumors and false propaganda.
मैं हैरान हूं कि कैसे कैसे भ्रम फैलाए गए हैं. अच्छा हुआ आपने छोटे छोटे सवाल मुझे पूछे हैं. मैं कोशिश करूंगा कि सत्य आप तक पहुंचाऊं. आप जानते हैं भूमि अधिग्रहण का कानून 120 साल पहले आया था. देश आजाद होने के बाद भी 60-65 साल वही कानून चला, और जो लोग आज किसानों के हमदर्द बनकर के आंदोलन चला रहे हैं, उन्होंने भी इसी कानून के तहत देश को चलाया, राज किया, और किसानों का जो होना था हुआ.
The Prime Minister said, for any planned project, the government will only acquire the land that was needed, and that too only as a last resort. He said his government still remained open to changes in the bill.
जिसकी मालिकी सरकार की है और जो गांव की भलाई के लिए है, गांव के किसानों की भलाई के लिए है, जो किसानों के भावी पीढ़ी की भलाई के लिए है, जो गांव के गरीबों की भलाई के लिए है, जो गांव के किसान को बिजली पानी मुहैया कराने के लिए, उनके लिए इस भूमि अधिग्रहण बिल में कमियां थी, उस कमियों को दूर करने का हमारा एक प्रामाणिक प्रयास है. और फिर भी मैंने पार्लियामेंट में कहा था कि अभी भी किसी को लगता है कोई कमी है तो हम इसको सुधार करने के लिए तैयार हैं.
He added that under the previous government's law, the farmers received no more compensation than under the old law enacted 120 years ago. He said his government had fixed this. The Prime Minister assured farmers that they will be fully compensated for their recent crop losses that are being assessed. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
In fact, let's listen into all the reactions coming in from the various political parties and also the farmers community.
प्रधानमंत्री जी की मन की बात ऐसा लग रहा था एक जरिया है धन पशुओं का. जो धन्ना सेठ हैं, पूंजीपति हैं, वो किसानों से कह रहे थे प्रधानमंत्री जी के जरिए कि अब आपकी जमीन का अधिग्रहण एकड़ों में नहीं किलोमीटरों में होगा. अगर प्रधानमंत्री जी किसानों के प्रति संवेदनशील हैं तो उनको 2013 के कानून को सुदृढ़ करना चाहिए, मजबूत करना चाहिए, ना कि कमजोर करना चाहिए.
मन की बात आज झूठी बात और पूंजीपतियों का साथ साबित हुई. ओलावृष्टि और बेमौसमी बरसात से ग्रस्त किसान वर्ग आज उनका प्रवचन सुनने के बाद इस नतीजे पर पहुंचा है कि मोदी और मौसम दोनों ने मिलकर किसान को मारा है।
प्रधानमंत्री जी के मन में हो सकता है किसानों के प्रति प्रेम हो, लेकिन किसानों की जमीन को लेने का एक बिल जो कानून बन रहा है वो अध्यादेश के जरिए लाया जा रहा है, तो वो चोर दरवाजे से क्यों लाया जा रहा है? संशय तो यहाँ से पैदा हुआ ना।
जो भी किसानों के हित में बिल बनेगा, नियम बनेगा, वो किसानों के हित में होगा। किसानों को डायरेक्ट फायदा मिलने वाला है। तो भूमि अधिग्रहण वाला मामला है, जो बड़े बड़े धन्ना सेठ आते हैं यहाँ पर कब्जा कर लेते हैं जमीनों पर, किसान भाइयों को बेला फुसला के कम पैसे देते हैं, तो ये सब इसका फर्क पड़ेगा इसका।
मोदी जी मन की बात कहते हैं परंतु पूरी कोई सी नहीं करते। जमींदार घाटे में ही चल रहा है। इनकी भूमि कम होती जा रही है। पिछले आंकड़े देखते हुए और वस्तुओं के रेट ज़्यादा बढ़ते हैं, परंतु फसल का क्रॉप का रेट उसकी रेसों के अनुसार कम बढ़ता है, जिससे जमींदार घाटे में चल रहे हैं। कुछ प्राकृतिक के ओले बरसात, इस वजह से जमींदारों को कोई प्रॉफिट नहीं है।
मन की बात में कोई बात नहीं है जी, कोई सच्चाई नहीं है इसमें, कोई सच्चाई नहीं है। मन की बात लागू करनी है, अगर जमींदारों को दे दे रहा, स्वामीनाथन आयोग की रिपोर्ट है, उसको लागू करो। पिछले दिनों में बहुत खाद की कमी रही है, कोई रेट नहीं मिला जमींदार को। मन की बात से क्या होता है जी, बात से कुछ नहीं होता।
क्या आवश्यकता पड़ी जो 2013-14 के नई कानून लेकर के आई यूपीए सरकार, उसमें संशोधन करने की और नए कानून लेके आने की? संशोधन करनी थी तो उसमें जो खामियां हैं उनके लिए कुछ पॉइंट है, इसको ही संशोधन किया जाना था, न कि कोई नया भूमि अधिग्रहण बिल लाई जानी चाहिए।
In the other big national news of the day, after 2 successive terror attacks in the state, the Jammu and Kashmir Assembly today passed a resolution condemning the twin terror attacks. Chief Minister Mufti Mohammed Said termed it a conspiracy to derail the peace process in the state. He also called on Pakistan to control terrorism at the earliest.
अगर वो चाहते हैं पीस, रिकंसिलिएशन, पाकिस्तान के जो वहां के हैं प्राइम मिनिस्टर, वहां का जो एस्टेब्लिशमेंट है, उनको कंट्रोल करना चाहिए, तभी गाड़ी आगे चलेगी, तभी देश की आगे बढ़ेगी। तो इसलिए मैं कहना चाहता हूं, हम भी बहुत सीरियस हैं।
Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister Mufti Mohammed Said condemning the twin terror attacks in the state, while urging neighbouring Pakistan to take effective steps to tackle terrorism. Mufti said the attacks in Samba and Kathua were an attempt to derail the peace process in the state.
ये जो हमला हुआ, ये मैं कहता हूं कि इस पर पूरी निंदा कंडेम करना चाहिए। हाउस की तरफ से एक प्रस्ताव, एक रेजोल्यूशन आना चाहिए।
Mufti's response came after the opposition parties created an uproar in the assembly demanding adjournment of the question hour. The National Conference, led by Omar Abdullah, staged a walkout from the House.
All told, 9 people have died in 2 days, and it's a serious matter, and the House must discuss, and the House must know what are the reasons, what are the elements who are involved, what are the measures that are being taken to ensure that this does not reoccur, and who are the people who are to be blamed.
Jammu and Kashmir saw 2 back-to-back terror attacks in the last 2 days. On Saturday, 2 militants opened fire at an army camp in the Samba district, while on Friday, a group of militants attacked a police station in Kathua district. It's the biggest terror attack in the state since the new PDP-BJP coalition government took charge. Bureau Report, Rajya TV.
Finance Minister Arun Jaitley scorched talk of differences between the government and the RBI today over regulating the money market. He was addressing the RBI board on his proposals in budget for the year 2015-16. He also maintained that the government often takes the opinion and suggestions of the RBI.
Finance Minister Arun Jaitley on Sunday insisted that there was no disconnect between the RBI and the government, while hoping that banks will follow the central bank in reducing interest rates. Jaitley said regular interactions do take place with the RBI and the government often takes its opinions and suggestions.
All issues which concern both our institutions are regularly discussed. We have complete free and frank discussions, and therefore there is no question of any disconnect, that's the word you used, between the bank and the government. I have repeatedly clarified that.
On future interest rate cuts, RBI Governor Raghuram Rajan said it would depend on the pattern of inflation. He also said the central bank will carefully watch the impact on unseasonal rains and hailstorm on the price situation. He also backed a government plan to hand over public debt management to a new agency as the two sides played down reports of friction over the biggest regulatory shake-up in the generation.
A public debt management agency as a professional organization independent of the central bank, independent of the government, is something that is desirable because it puts some discipline on the government debt process and also frees regulation of the need to create some sort of financial repression. I think as a concept and enabling that concept, it's a very worthwhile move.
Reports had quoted Finance Ministry sources saying that officials at the Reserve Bank of India has reservations about all proposed changes. Rajan also answered questions on the fiscal deficit situation. He said the government had taken a number of steps and much would depend on the external and internal environment, especially the disinvestment program that's dependent on the markets. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Meanwhile, the Securities and Exchange Board of India today tightened disclosure norms for companies. It has made it mandatory for listed firms to disclose their board decisions within 30 minutes. All other material information needs to be made public within 24 hours. Finance Minister Arun Jaitley also held his first post-budget meeting with the Securities and Exchange Board of India. The board reportedly pitched for allowing pension money to be invested in various securities instruments and to create an enabling environment for the REITs. Jaitley said he discussed various issues confronting the regulator, its functioning vis-a-vis new proposals in the budget and the roadmap ahead. He also discussed capacity building and other infrastructure needs for merger of commodities regulator FMC with SEBI to create a unified markets regulator. In another major decision, SEBI relaxed norms for conversion of bank debt into equity in companies that are in distress and unable to repay funds. The decision comes as a major boost to banks that are struggling with bad loans. The relaxed SEBI norms will allow banks to convert debt into equity without the market regulator's pricing formula kicking in for such conversions. SEBI also tightened its corporate disclosure norms, making it mandatory for listed firms to disclose board decisions within 30 minutes. All other material information has to be made public within 24 hours. Warning of strong penal action for non-compliance, SEBI said the disclosures would need to be made as soon as reasonably practicable, but not later than the given time limit. The new disclosure requirements are aimed at checking the practice among the Indian companies of selectively leaking the information before merger and acquisition deals through media and without informing the investors first for personal gains by promoters. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. The Home Ministry has sought a report on a major fire that broke out in the Parliament complex today afternoon. There were no reports of any injuries in the fire that was brought under control by nearly 10 fire tenders. A huge cloud of smoke was seen billowing out of the complex in the high security area for nearly an hour. The fire department officials said the blaze started from the AC plant on the premises. President Pranab Mukherjee also expressed serious concern over the fire and asked for an urgent inquiry into the case. This was the second case of fire inside the complex in the last couple of days, as a minor fire was reported in the AC wiring at gate number 5 on Thursday. The AC power plant is on the periphery of the Parliament complex near gate number 8 near the reception area. Delhi Fire Services officials said sparks caused by the welding done during maintenance work caused the fire. Meanwhile, in the other news, the BJP today continued to mount pressure on the Karnataka government to order a CBI probe into the death of IS officer DK Ravi. Senior leaders of the party, which is the main opposition party in the Karnataka Assembly, took to the streets of Bangalore demanding immediate action from the state government. The Congress government, meanwhile, has already ordered a CID inquiry into the case. Chief Minister Siddaramaiah said the state government will announce its final decision in the Assembly on Monday. IS officer DK Ravi, who was posted as Joint Commissioner in the Commercial Tax Department, was found hanging from a ceiling fan in his apartment last Monday. While the police are calling it a case of suicide, protesters are alleging that he could have been killed for his active role in taking on the land and sand mafia in Karnataka's Kolar district.
We are here to insist the state government to hand over DK Ravi's death to CBI probe instead of COD inquiry immediately. We don't want Chief Minister to reveal the COD report on the floor of the House tomorrow. This will not have any result except trying to deviate the route of the inquiry.
Unless and until state government chief minister announced CBI investigation, will not stop the agitation. Will continue the agitation unless and until state government announces CBI investigation. Will continue our agitation in assembly also, in public also.
And in news of major concern for the Indian government, the Sri Lankan Navy has arrested 54 Indian fishermen for allegedly poaching in the island's waters off the coast of Kanke Santurai and Talaimannar in the northern province. The arrests came just 2 days ahead of announcement of dates for direct fisher community talks between India and Sri Lanka. The Sri Lankan Navy said 21 fishermen were arrested and 5 boats were seized at Kanke Santurai, while the rest of them were on 5 more boats at Talaimannar last night. Sri Lanka had released some 86 Indian fishermen last week as a goodwill gesture towards the visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Meanwhile, Home Minister Rajnath Singh today reiterated that India wants to maintain friendly relations with Pakistan, but efforts in this regard must also be made by the neighbour. The Home Minister said this at the Atari-Wagah border, where he laid the foundation stone for a new viewers gallery. In his speech, Rajnath praised the efforts of the BSF in guarding India's borders while assuring them that the government is preparing a comprehensive plan for foolproof security at the Indo-Pak border. He also congratulated the women's camel contingent of the BSF for reaching the Wagah-Atari border after completing a march of 2,300 kilometers. Rajnath Singh also watched the beating the retreat ceremony at the Atari border.
इन 50 वर्षों में बराबर हिंदुस्तान की बॉर्डर को महफूज रखने में यदि किसी ने कामयाबी हासिल की है तो उस सिक्योरिटी फोर्स का नाम है बॉर्डर सिक्योरिटी फोर्स.
Well, over the next 2 days, India and China will resume their border talks in New Delhi. National Security Advisor Ajit Doval is expected to hold talks with his Chinese counterpart. This is the 18th round of talks between two neighbouring countries to seek an amicable solution to border disputes. This comes in the backdrop of discussions between Modi and Chinese President Xi Jinping during Xi's visit to Delhi in September last year. Significantly, it also comes ahead of Modi's first visit to China, which is expected in May. And let's now get you some more national news in Nationwide. Militants of the ZUF group attacked an army patrolling unit in Manipur late on Saturday, critically injuring 4 army personnel. The incident took place at Khulen village in Tamenglong district of Manipur. The injured are being treated at the army hospital in Lemekong. 2 churches, one in Navi Mumbai and the other in Jabalpur, have come under attack by miscreants in less than 24 hours. Unidentified men hurled stones inside the church and damaged the glass enclosure of the statue of St. George at the church in Navi Mumbai on Saturday. State Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis said 3 miscreants were identified and action will be taken against them. Other political leaders also condemned the attack. The Jammu and Kashmir government today unveiled a 46,000 crore budget packed with a slew of schemes for farmers, traders, women and employees. The new government also stamped out plan and non-plan classification. The first budget presented by the PDP-BJP alliance government projects a resource gap of 4,336 crore rupees that it plans to finance with grants to state under the 14th Finance Commission grants. Well, we'll slip into a very short break here, but coming up ahead, manhunt continues for the third Tunis attacker. More international stories, also sports updates when we return.
आजादी के बाद कैसे बदला परिवेश, कैसे बनी संसद, कैसे उठा देश.
When the world sleeps, India will awake to life and freedom.
कौन थे वो लोग जो दे गए हमको शानदार विरासत, लोकतंत्र की मजबूत इमारत. राज्यसभा टेलीविजन.
Welcome back. You're watching News Tonight on Rajya Sabha TV. On to some international news now. Tunis President Beji Essebsi today confirmed that the third gunman was involved in the 18th March attack, along with the two who were shot dead by the country's security forces. The Interior Ministry released security camera footage of the assault on Saturday, showing two armed men walking through a museum hall and briefly encountering a third person with a backpack. Tunisian authorities arrested over 20 suspected militants in a nationwide security crackdown. The Islamic State claimed it was behind the attack. Wednesday's assault was the deadliest involving foreigners in Tunisia since the 2002 suicide bombing on the island of Djerba.
Sûrement, il y en avait trois déjà, parce qu'ils sont identifiés et ils ont été filmés par les caméras de surveillance. Mais il y a un qui maintenant court un peu quelque part. En fuite, Monsieur le Président. Oui, encore, mais de toute façon, il n'ira pas très loin.
US President Barack Obama today went public expressing his dissatisfaction with Israeli President Benjamin Netanyahu's flip-flop over a two-state solution regarding Palestinian statehood. Just days before, in an interview, Netanyahu has backtracked from his pre-election promise that he will not allow a Palestinian statehood if voted to power.
In his first public comments since Benjamin Netanyahu's party won the parliamentary election, US President Barack Obama refused to buy the Israeli president's sudden post-election flip-flop on a separate Palestinian state.
We take him at his word when he said that it wouldn't happen during his prime ministership. And so that's why we've got to evaluate what other options are available to make sure that we don't see a chaotic situation in the region. I did indicate to him that we continue to believe that a two-state solution is the only way for the long-term security of Israel if it wants to stay both a Jewish state and democratic.
In an interview with Huffington Post, Obama also rebuked Netanyahu over his remarks about Arab Israelis voting, making clear that the deep rift in the relations between Israel and the United States is not ending anytime soon.
We indicated that kind of rhetoric was contrary to what is the best of Israel's traditions. That although Israel was founded based on the historic Jewish homeland and the need to have a Jewish homeland, Israeli democracy has been premised on everybody in the country being treated equally and fairly. And I think that is what's best about Israeli democracy.
Benjamin Netanyahu said in at least 3 post-election interviews that he still believed in Palestinian statehood, despite his recent pre-election flip-flop, which the experts believe was a desperate appeal for conservative votes. The US now says it is reassessing its relationship with Israel after Netanyahu's provocative statements opposing the creation of a Palestinian state. Officials also suggest the United States is now considering signing on a UN resolution which supports a Palestinian state. Certainly not all well with the US-Israel relationship. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, the US Defense Department is investigating an online threat allegedly made by the Islamic State to about 100 of its military personnel. The threat was posted on a website with names, photographs and home addresses of 100 American service members. The Islamic State claimed that they were involved in the US airstrike campaign against the ISIS in Iraq and Syria. A list of names and addresses was posted on a website linked to the group alongside a call for them to be killed. Pentagon officials said the validity of the information has not been ascertained. The group, however, that called itself the Islamic State Hacking Division said it obtained the information by hacking servers and databases, but US officials said most of the data was in the public domain. Meanwhile, Iran lashed out at what it called the bullying attitude of the United States amid an ongoing discussion to finalize a deal on Tehran's nuclear program. With just 10 days remaining before the 31st March deadline, Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khomeini voiced mistrust on the US negotiations and reiterated that Tehran is seeking to develop a nuclear weapon for useful purposes. Top negotiators, including US Secretary of State John Kerry, is in Switzerland holding discussions with the P5+1 nations. In a joint statement, the foreign ministers said substantial progress had been made with Iran in key areas, although a few important issues are still pending.
کس نیست که نخواهد مسئله هسته‌ای حل بشود
و با مذاکرات حل بشه. اونی که ملت ایران نمیخواهند عبارت است از قبول تحمیل‌ها و زورگویی‌های آمریکا. اینو نمیخوان.
Is Iran prepared to show, to prove to the world that it is not developing a nuclear weapon? And can we verify that in an intrusive, consistent way? And frankly, they have not yet.
And for more international stories and updates, here's the Global Buzz. A UK court directed Pakistan to pay £150,000 to India as legal fees in the 67-year-old Hyderabad funds case involving the Nizam's money. The judge ordered the Pakistan High Commissioner to pay legal costs incurred by other respondents in the case relating to the Hyderabad funds that's currently valued at £35 million. The death toll from Friday's suicide bombings of two mosques in Yemen's capital Sana'a rose to 137 on Saturday, while the cleanup of Hashush Mosque is almost completed. Some debris and dried blood was still visible at the mosque, while a burnt-out car remained parked outside. 7 siblings from an Orthodox Jewish family were killed early Saturday when a fire tore through their Brooklyn home after they had gone to bed. Authorities believe the fire was caused by a malfunctioning hot plate left on for Sabha. The blaze killed 3 girls and 4 boys, all aged between 5 to 16, and left their mother and another child in a critical condition. Voting started today in the first round of French local elections, where the anti-immigration National Front hopes to come top and consolidate leader Marine Le Pen's bid for presidency in 2017. The National Front, which wants a return to the French franc and a referendum on capital punishment, suffered a wave of disenchantment with established politicians to emerge top in last year's European Parliament elections. Tens of thousands of protesters marched through Dublin as anger boiled over new water charges. Households in Ireland are set to be billed as part of the final phase of a 7-year €30 billion austerity drive. The introduction of domestic water charges has become the most controversial of all belt-tightening measures. And let's now get you all the action from the world of sports in SportsBeat. Martina Hingis and Sania Mirza completed a dream-first tournament together, beating Katerina Makarova and Elena Vesnina 6-3, 6-4 to win the BNP Paribas Open Women's Doubles title on Saturday. With this, Hingis has won 11 Grand Slams in the team discipline, while Sania has claimed 3 Grand Slams, and their doubles partnership was eagerly awaited in the tennis circuit. World number 1 Novak Djokovic beat Britain's Andy Murray 6-2, 6-3 on Saturday to set up the final against number 2 Roger Federer in the ATP Indian Wells. Federer defeated Canada's Milos Raonic 7-5, 6-4 to reach his 40th ATP Masters 1000 final and earn a repeat of last year's epic final, where he lost to Djokovic in 3 sets. Borussia Dortmund bounced back from the midweek Champions League exit with a 3-2 Bundesliga win over 10-man Hannover 96 on Saturday to earn their first win in 4 games. Thanks to a brace from Pierre-Emerick and a Shinji Kagawa strike, Dortmund move up to 33 points, 5 behind Augsburg, who are 6th and occupy the last place for Europa League qualification. Manchester City eased to a 3-0 home victory over 10-man West Bromwich Albion in the Premier League on Saturday after the visitors had the wrong player sent off in the 2nd minute by referee Neil Swarbrick. Wilfred Boney put City ahead after 27 minutes before Fernando added a second just before the break, and David Silva scored after half-time to hand City boss Manuel Pellegrini victory in his 100th game in charge. Former 400 meters world champion Amantal Monsho was banned for 2 years for doping after testing positive at last year's Commonwealth Games. The 31-year-old from Botswana tested positive for a banned stimulant after the 400 meters final in Glasgow, where she finished 4th. Well, that's all we have for you in this edition of News Tonight. We'll see you same time tomorrow. Good night.